1. In the third year of chasing the sponsor's money, we had a cliffhanger of a breakup. He carelessly left me for Felix, who didn't have a dime and couldn't stand me. Calm as ever, he thought he was sending me off to toughen up after spoiling me rotten. Little did he know, I had been itching to escape his golden cage. On the day I got dumped, I cheerfully flaunted my hefty savings account at Felix and boldly declared, "Don't bother trying. I'm taking care of you." Felix looked at me with dark eyes and simply said, "Okay." Later on, Henry remembered me and threw a sky-high contract at me, hoping to buy me back. Now at the top, Felix twirled his wedding ring and said casually, "Sorry, I'm an old-fashioned husband who fears his wife and can't make decisions on his own. Henry once gave me away over a gemstone necklace." Sounded ridiculous, but as soon as he said it, guys and gals all decked out surrounded him, ready to make their move. Grapes were literally kissed to his lips, and Henry didn't refuse. He looked at my confused face expressionlessly and said in a tone that felt oddly light, "Didn't you really want that necklace, Carrie?" I knew my deliberate provocations had finally taken effect. Throwing little fits, acting out no matter the occasion. From pretending to be sick to delay Henry's meetings to now switching sides, just to grab a necklace an associate wanted. Before Henry spoiled me, plenty of people gossiped behind his back, saying he was blinded by lust, steering clear of deals. Even the company's stock took a hit. But now, Henry seemed to have awoken. The associates, who'd been frowning, seemed relieved, anticipating how Henry would handle me, ready for some explanation. Excited to the point of shaking, I kept on pretending to be clueless and arrogant, dismissive. "She's so ugly, giving her that necklace is a waste. Obviously it's meant for me, isn't it?" Then I got in close, acting sweet and sulking. "How could you be mean to me over a necklace, Henry? I'm gonna be mad." The scene was surreal, a caged bird threatening its patron with a temper tantrum. But that was the dynamic between me and Henry. Outside, he was the man in charge, yet he loved playing the henpecked husband with me. Except this time was clearly different. His cool fingers tilted up my chin. Henry actually smiled at me for a change. "I spoiled you clearly." Seemingly affectionate, but only I knew just how angry he was. And sure enough, his next words were, "I remember you always being scared of Felix, trembling even while making eye contact. Think he could train you to behave?" Felix, once a dazzling heir, now just an exiled pariah from his family, notorious for his failures. In just one sentence, he could be giving me away like a pet. The associates were satisfied, but this was just not enough. I bit my lip to fake fear, threatening weakly and meekly, "You're lying. We have a contract, you can't just drop me." The next moment, the contract was torn to shreds before my eyes. Henry pressed a ready card to my lips, speaking idly and affectionately. "Compensation? You know I'd never lie to you. Once the person who dropped me off left for real." I instantly changed expressions. Gleefully admiring the card, I pulled out another one from my pocket. Years of secretly selling Henry's gifts got me this far. I gave the two cards a triumphant kiss, mumbling, "Too bad I didn't get around to selling the house. Would have been worth millions." Knocked on the door, no answer. Annoyed, I turned around, only to be startled by the person behind me. Felix still looked as fierce as ever. Tall with striking mixed eyes, he looked down at me with a chilling serpent-like vibe. Instantly, my temper flared. "When did you get here? What cat got your tongue?" "Can't speak. You're standing at my house. Don't I get to know when you come over?" Clearly, I showed off the two cards in my hand like trophies. "Here to rescue you. But talk to me like that again, and I'll just rescue someone else." Felix stayed silent, expression cool as ever, though his body leaned closer. I was pushed back, step by step, until I was pinned against the door, my eyes darting, stumbling over words. No need for the rush, not really into being too forward. The door swung open. Without support, I nearly tumbled, instinctively clinging to Felix's arm. The result was both of us tripping, like something out of a TV drama. At least he had the decency to cushion my fall with himself underneath me. The room went silent. "Consider it," I cheerfully offered. "Didn't hurt myself, so you're forgiven this time." But there, beneath me, Felix smiled sarcastically while seething with anger. "Get off." Suddenly rebellious, I refused. Not only that, I wrapped my arms around his neck, using my knees to cling to him like a clumsy bear cub. Forget it, not until you ask nicely. Felix grew darker. Giving you one last chance. I yawned. Sorry, what? Couldn't hear you, Felix. His strong arms supported me from behind, lifting me. Startled by the height change, I yelped, clutching Felix's neck tightly, forcing his head into the curve of my neck. Listening to my incredulous complaint. I'm wearing a skirt. Felix froze slightly. I noted his tense arms briefly. A thought crossed my mind. Time to convince him to take me in. Subtly pinching myself, layering in a teary whine. Unreasonable but insistent. Don't care. You took liberties, you have to take responsibility. Expression hardening again. Felix's face returned to cold indifference. Why not run back to your Henry? Don't think I can afford a princess like you. You don't need to. Quickly pulling out the 2 cards, acting innocent. I'll take care of you, Felix. I'm serious. Felix gave me a long, hard look. Carrie, I'm not your pawn to make Henry jealous. I'm not falling for your tricks again. Bored with me, just leave. But his arms tightened around me, reluctant to let go. And no way was I leaving. I gritted my teeth and hugged him from behind. If Henry gives me away, would you just let it happen? I tried to look weak at the end. Felix, you know I can't handle hardship. An hour later, I was no longer polite, walking around his place wearing the only slippers available, watching Felix cook. He humiliated me over a necklace. Wasn't that too much? I pointed out, hey, go easy on the salt, too much and I'll get bloated. Felix's expression twitched a bit. You'll say it has no taste and not eat it. I blinked at him, faking helplessness. Do you think I'm useless too? I'll get you some coconut water later. I squealed with joy, jumping on his back. You're the best. Knowing Felix was still sentimental, I couldn't help but push my limits. The first victim was his bed. Before coming, I knew he was exiled and broke, even fixing cars sometimes. I was mentally prepared for what I'd see, but when I actually faced that extremely simple environment, I couldn't help but complain. Only had time to grab some cash before leaving. My silk sheets and pajamas were left behind. I was spoiled before. I was allergic to the coarse fabric the moment I laid down. The bed frame was iron, with just a thin mattress, uncomfortable and painful to lie on. Sitting up angrily, I lost my temper at Felix. I can't sleep like this, do something. But Felix wasn't buying it. The couch is softer. You can sleep there. I stared at him incredulously. It's so small. What if I roll off? Without lifting his head, he replied smoothly, I'll sleep on the floor next to the couch. If you roll, you'll land on me, your human cushion. I didn't take him seriously. Thought he was mocking me. Who gives up a bed to sleep on the floor, just to be a cushion for someone else? Felix wouldn't be such a pushover. Realizing he wasn't giving in easily, I suggested, let's stay out for the night. I'll pay, and we'll sort the bed thing tomorrow. But Felix ignored me. Go on your own. I'm not leaving. His head bowed. I couldn't meet his eyes, getting anxious. Couldn't tell if he wanted to kick me out, or was genuinely suggesting. But seeing his clenched jaw, the tension in his voice, I knew one thing for sure. If I actually left, I'd be in trouble. The small impulse I had instantly cooled down. I had to compromise, changing the topic. Never mind. If you're not going, I won't either. I need a shower. You got a shirt I can borrow? Felix, come on, just this one little thing? Felix, always so relaxed, froze. Just a shirt? I then realized my oversight. Nothing to change into, no underwear either. Tried pretending it didn't bother me. I'll manage by drying them. Felix's Adam's apple bobbed. He made to leave. I'll buy disposables. But I grabbed him, embarrassed, too much hassle. While his expression was blank, I continued testing my luck. You'll help dry them, right? I don't want to, you know. Felix, ears red, ordered, go shower. I washed the little fabric by hand, shamelessly handing it to him. Felix took it quickly with a weird tone. All clean? Blinking cluelessly, I missed the regret in his voice. Felix sure has changed, so stern now, I thought, and hummed a tune as I showered. The old heater barely warmed the water, just lukewarm at best, shivering as it hit my skin. Soon the water flow reduced to a trickle, so frustrating. Adjusting the valve with irritation, the water warmed slightly, enough for a quick rinse. Then it stopped. Couldn't stand it. I hurriedly slipped on the only soft fabric shirt Felix found for me. The shirt was long, reaching just above my knees. Considering asking if Felix finished drying, when the hose jolted out, drenching me. Panic set in. Felix, help. Felix. I forgot to lock it when I passed stuff earlier. Felix seemed to have been waiting and quickly appeared. I jumped without thinking, burying myself in his chest. Your shower's bullying me. Felix reached over and turned the shower off. He got soaked too. His wet clothes clung between us. The feeling was oddly intimate. His voice stiff. Let go of me. Cold from the shower and the air conditioning being low. It was no surprise I woke up later with a fever. The dry throat snapped me awake. My body felt weak and groggy as I got up, confused by the squishy texture underfoot. Could Felix be so kind and get a carpet? Curiosity took over. I sat down, poking and prodding. My finger brushed a small bump, unconsciously rubbing it. Came a muffled sound near my ear. Sleepily blinking, I wondered, a talking carpet? Each prodding prompted it to rise. My hands were clasped. Felix switched on the lamp, expression cold. Not grown up yet, are you? Only then did I realize I might have commandeered Felix's bed. And yes, he was likely on the floor. So it's not a carpet, huh? His question lingered, prompting me to shake my head, then contradict myself, and delivered a solid bite. Felix yelped from the pain, and in innocence I countered, You don't have milk, do you? I sulked. I just wanted a sip, and you won't even let me have that. Do you hate me that much? Felix chuckled bitterly, looking at the fresh teeth marks. Oh yes, can't stand you at all. Just as he tried pulling me off, he noticed my feverish heat. Brows furrowing, he switched to holding me close. I felt the cool of his forehead, heard him measure, we need a thermometer. But as he moved, I craved the cool, following him like a moth to flame. Lips barely touching, my words slurred. Your tongue's warm too. 3. I licked Felix's lips until they were all shiny. But he still wouldn't give in. He just looked down at me with an expression I couldn't quite figure out. I was on the verge of tears, trying to negotiate with him. Just once, just a little bit. Finally, he pressed firmly on the back of my head. When I woke up in the morning, all I felt was a sore tongue and aching legs. My brain wasn't fully up and running yet, so I didn't think much of it. Until I found a note Felix left. He said he went to work, the porridge was still hot in the rice cooker, and to remember to take my medicine. Medicine? An overwhelming flood of memories hit me. The medicine he transferred through a kiss, the bite marks on Felix's body, and those swollen red spots. And how he said he was sick of me through clenched teeth. Oh no. I hope I don't get kicked out. I hurriedly ate a couple of bites for breakfast, and rushed to the biggest mall downtown. Yep. My way of saying sorry is pretty straightforward. Spending money to get him gifts. I picked out a tie and a suit, and then found a watch that caught my eye. It had a meteorite dial with a sapphire case, just like Felix's eyes in the deep night, the only light in the dark. The more I looked, the more satisfied I felt. Just as I was about to ask the store clerk to wrap it up, a card landed in front of me. Clara, with a haughty expression, declared, I'll take that watch. She was decked out in designer brands, with arrogance mixed with aggression written all over her face. I raised an eyebrow, and finally dug up her image from a corner of my memory. She was Henry's admirer, the one who got rejected. The clerk was sweating bullets. Sorry, miss, but this young lady saw it first. Clara shot me a disdainful look, sizing up my casually thrown together outfit. Just Felix's thin hoodie and some throw-on shorts. Only the shoes had any value. Carrie, even after leaving Henry, you still haven't learned? A watch worth millions isn't something a commoner like you can afford. I wasn't in the mood to argue with her. Time was tight, and I had to get going to surprise Felix. So I deliberately gave her a once-over and scoffed. $1 million watch? It suits you at best. I turned and handed over my card. The $2 million bill shone brightly on the receipt, leaving Clara red-faced. She sheepishly retrieved her card. Her true intentions came to light. She threw a stack of photos in front of me, full of malice. Don't get too full of yourself, Carrie. This time, Henry really does despise you. I found a dessert shop. Slowly went through the photos one by one. Henry was looking at the girl in front of him. His eyes were gentle, lightly lifting her chin, letting her shyly hide in his embrace. He looked nothing like the usual cold and sinister version of himself. But it was the same way he once looked at me. Softness from those at the top is often mistaken for love, but it's just charity. When you believe it, that's the real trap. Back when my parents passed away, I was drowning in debt while still in college, working 3 jobs a day, pushing my limits. My stomach cramped with hunger pain, but I pushed through. One night, while pouring wine for Henry, I couldn't hold it, spilling it all over him. The manager forced me to kneel on the floor and apologize. Henry stayed silent, and the manager was about to slap me. I was kneeling on the cold floor, my brain muddled, instinctively protecting my stomach. I accidentally avoided the slap. The manager panicked and yanked on my hair. The bright lights made my tears flow. Finally, Henry moved like a savior. He took me home and spoiled me to the heavens. With a single word, those crushing debts disappeared. Despite knowing the difference in our statuses, holding that unlimited black card made me nervous. I didn't dare spend a dime at first. Henry cradled me, reassuring me daily, giving me a sense of security, healing all my sensitivity and caution. I thought I'd found someone who truly loved me, someone willing to bend down and grow with me, until I discovered photos of another girl in his encrypted album, Henry's beloved, a ray of light in his early dark days. Their relationship wasn't romantic, but she died the day before he reached the top, becoming a constant reminder. From then on, Henry didn't want a lover. He wanted someone to make up for the past. And that person should resemble his late bloom, a girl who couldn't love him. I turned my gaze back to the other person in the photo. She had freckles I didn't, her features not remarkably attractive. But she had the youthful energy similar to the one who had died in spring. I savored the last bite of sweet blueberry yam, feeling in good spirits. Tossed the photos into the trash. By the time I arrived, Felix was under the car, intently checking its condition. The boss teased, "Felix, your girlfriend's here." He finally emerged, wearing just a white tank top, nearly soaked through from heat. The swollen bruises stood out even more, looking larger than on the right side. Yet he was unbothered, not at all trying to hide them. In the brief moment he lifted his shirt to wipe sweat, I noticed the teeth marks hadn't faded. Blushing, I felt guilty remembering last night. I pulled out a pack of specially bought Band-Aids, decorated with cute designs I liked. "Maybe you could cover it up a bit?" Felix glanced at me, "Didn't take them. Girlfriend?" I felt a bit embarrassed looking down at my shoes. He was just joking. Felix seemed convinced, didn't ask further, and went ahead applying a Band-Aid on himself. The wet white t-shirt now showcased an adorable pink kitty. His serious face alongside it was amusing. Just then the boss passed by. He took a look, gave me a thumbs up. "Oh, you young couples know how to have fun. This beats a little wristband any day." Felix raised an eyebrow. "Just joking, huh?" My face turned beet red. I felt shy admitting how it hit my soft spot. I feared he'd get annoyed and rip off the pink kitty, so I awkwardly reassured him. "He's complimenting you, you know." I wasn't sure if he bought it. Felix drew closer. The scent of gasoline with a hint of fresh lemon grew stronger. I crinkled my slightly stuffy nose in mild discomfort. He pressed the back of his hand to my forehead, frowning. "Your face is so red. Still got a fever?" I insisted on making Felix drive us to the starting line. That's when I learned that Felix's job also involves mountain road racing. Compared to our quiet little group of 3, the other race car was surrounded by fans. When they finally dispersed, I realized it was someone I knew. John's expression was menacing. "Carrie, since Henry dumped you, why didn't you come find me? After all, I'm pretty interested in you." My face turned pale. It felt like I was sent right back to that summer. The time I found the photo and, unwilling to give in, took a last-ditch shot at confessing to Henry. As expected, I got rejected. Henry looked at my tear-streaked face with his usual gentle expression. He gently wiped the tears from my eye corners, but his voice was cold. "How could you fall for me, Carrie? I must have spoiled you too much." I didn't understand what he meant back then, until the next day at a party, when he left me with John. Henry was impotent and misogynistic. He treated me like a toy. He shoved my head into a pool, then let go just as I was about to suffocate, watching me struggle for air. I'm allergic to alcohol, and he made me drink while having a doctor on standby. The worst part? I was tied to a race car, watching him run over a puppy I'd cared for. The crazy laughter of the people around us made me dizzy and nauseous. Just as the ground was spinning, Henry appeared again. He utterly destroyed John, then gently brushed my sweaty hair back, his eyes pained. How did you end up like this? He seemed like a savior, but I only felt a chill. Before the race, John taunted Felix. Is this necessary? Give me the girl, and I'll help you return home. After all, I heard she used to treat you like a dog. I looked at Felix, startled. He stayed calm, raised the stakes. If you lose, you disappear from her world forever. What if you lose? Felix put on his helmet, hiding all expression. I won't lose. Except for the boss who bet on Felix, almost everyone else bet on John. The differences between a scratched-up car and a well-maintained top-tier car were way too big. Hardly anyone thought Felix could win. I placed the watch, intended as a gift, and Henry's card on the table. With everyone's shocked eyes on me, I said, I'm betting on Felix. The race started quickly. Engines roared. John shot out first. His car was better on the straight path, giving him a dominant edge. Yet Felix's car stuck close. Each turn they made, the gap narrowed. On the last bend, Felix pulled ahead by half a car length. However, John's car blocked the path, cutting off Felix, leaving his car perilously close to the cliff. The sound of falling rocks made my skin crawl. Everyone, including me, expected Felix to put safety first and back off. To our surprise, the white car accelerated. Its right wheel mounted a rock at the cliff's edge, leaving half the car hanging in the air. Taking advantage of the momentum, Felix rammed John's car, forcing a narrow path through. Sparks flew as metal scraped metal, falling into the abyss. Facing a life-or-death moment, John cowardly chose self-preservation, parking his car. Felix, however, pushed ahead with unstoppable determination, racing toward the finish line. And toward me. Though I couldn't see clearly, it felt like Felix's eyes under his helmet focused on me, with a predator's intensity. He stopped the car in front of me. Felix won. My mind was blank. Before I even realized it, I had jumped into Felix's arms. He caught me steadily, his breaths heavy, arms shaking from the intense race. I regrettably thought of climbing off him, but he held me tightly instead. Felix buried his head into my neck, his voice hoarse. I won. We were so close that it felt like his fast-pounding heart had jumped into my chest, making me breathless. My mind blank, I babbled. I bet the watch I got you and the card, all the money's there. The change of topic felt abrupt, like talking money, when things should be romantic. But somehow, I felt Felix understood me. Like the time I texted him a hotel room number at midnight. It was a full-blown hint. And given the amount of money I'd spent on him, most would read between the lines with wild guesses about our relationship. Yet Felix simply brought fried chicken and beer, keeping me company as we played games all night. Just like now. He gently patted my trembling back to calm me. No more fear. Then he pinned me against the car, surrounding me with his arms in a comforting, secure hold. I suddenly felt a wave of grievance wash over me. Coco was killed by him. That cute little dog even rubbed against my palm, asking for attention before its death. I rambled on, continuing to complain. I don't like drinking alcohol, and he made me drink it, and pushed me into water. I couldn't breathe. Every complaint I made was met with a soothing kiss. It felt like belated candy, sweet enough to choke me up. At the end, Felix kissed me deeply, easing away my unspoken grief, tenderly calming my unstoppable, tearful eyes. After the kiss ended, I still felt like crying. Yet something heavy pressing against my leg made its presence felt unmistakably there. Felix's breath was unsteady, his gaze profound. Still sad? You taste pretty salty. Even though I knew such reactions were normal after such a thrilling, life-threatening experience, I couldn't help but feel annoyed, pinching his thigh hard. Felix drew in a sharp breath, yet instead of calming down, he got even more excited. Glancing at my mortified expression, the veins on Felix's temples throbbed. He made a big effort to control himself, lightly seating me on the engine hood. Then he casually wrapped a jacket around his waist before dragging John out of the car. Pinning him to the ground, he started pounding on him in a fit of rage. Already rattled by the fear of death, John was limp, completely powerless to fight back. Just one punch from Felix, and John embarrassingly wet himself in front of everyone. Somehow, photos of me and Felix kissing got snapped and spread. I felt a chill run down my back. 5. I wasn't sure if Henry would catch on and realize I was just lying to him, then take it out on Felix again. But either way, I couldn't take that gamble. Felix had nothing left now. To survive, he's even taking those dangerous car races. I can't drag him down with me. While Felix was at work, I started packing my things. My little closet was stuffed full with my clothes, while Felix's few hoodies and t-shirts were sadly crammed into the corner. I hesitated for a few seconds, but still packed those few clothes of Felix's that I had worn into my suitcase. Call it a keepsake. I didn't expect that halfway through, the door would open. In a panic, I shoved the suitcase back into the closet. Felix's eyes scanned my guilty face. "What's up?" I avoided his gaze, putting on my sad face to distract him. "Nothing, just a stomachache from hunger. Not eating properly again." Felix frowned, opening the packed noodles. They smelled delicious, but I couldn't taste a thing, my mind elsewhere. Seeing Felix finish eating and get ready to change into his home clothes, I quickly hugged him from behind. I hadn't thought of an excuse yet. Then I heard Felix's steady voice. "You got my noodles, the no-spice ones. Normally, you'd throw a fit, but not today." I froze, hearing the hurt and disappointment in his voice. "Carrie, do you know when you lie, your behavior gets all weird? You lie, you're always lying to me." The way Felix and I met was a lie. John's humiliation taught me a lesson. I obediently played the spoiled canary Henry favored, but inside I was so unwilling. I frantically searched for some meaning in my existence. Sponsored a few people, but once they knew my identity, whatever little gratitude they had turned into scorn and hatred. They said if I'd known the money you gave was dirty, I'd rather starve. I was disheartened, retreating into my arrogant shell, until I ran into Felix at a coffee shop. Dark circles under his eyes didn't overshadow his good looks. You'd find him bartending, working in a coffee shop, or inside costumes at amusement parks handing out flyers. I did my research, and it was a classic sad story. A murderer foster dad, a gambling addict foster mom who died early, and him paying off her debts. Even worse than what I went through. Many people, under the guise of ordering coffee, only wanted his contact info. Felix ignored them all. Some called him aloof and highbrow. They offered a whole quarter's coffee order from my company for his contact info. A big temptation for sales. I could see the wavering in Felix's eyes. I shook my head, knowing they were empty promises, not a real offer. And they had no company to speak of. Felix needed money so badly. This desperation could blind him to their trickery. Just like I once was. I thought Felix would give in, but I was wrong. Sadly, sticking to his principles only got him disgrace and humiliation. So I stepped in. I wanted to save my old self too. We became friends. But not like normal friends. Felix was more like my patient therapist, endlessly absorbing my negativity. He became a beacon for my broken soul. And because he was so important, whenever Felix looked at me with grateful, admiring eyes, panic flared inside me. Fearful that once he learned I was just a manipulated trinket, he'd look at me with the same disdain as those I've helped before. So when I realized my feelings for Felix had changed, I didn't hesitate to step away. This was my second shot at love, and I wanted it to stay beautiful in my memory. The gap between our statuses meant any overlap between Felix and me was severed because of my unilateral withdrawal. Until I met Felix again at his family celebration. He turned out to be the long-lost son, able to stand on equal footing with Henry. And I was just a mere plaything by Henry's side. Felix cornered me in the garden, wanting to know why. Why I left without a word. Why I showed up again as someone else's date. I met his reddened eyes. I wanted to tell him the truth, but the choker's rose petals bit into my neck. I remembered Henry's affectionate touch there before he left. I knew he sensed something and was listening to us. So I shoved Felix away harshly, pretending to be annoyed. Why does it matter? Do you need a reason to play with you? If I'd known you'd cling so desperately, I would have never approached you. That night, Felix cried. I thought Felix and I were completely over. I looked at him bewildered. How did you find out? You cried when you yelled at me, Carrie. Felix turned around, resting his chin on my head. When I mentioned giving that necklace to someone else, you, who loves beauty, bit your lip. He was talking about that auction. I randomly pointed at a necklace. Didn't like it much, but it was a collector's item, expensive, just what Henry wanted me to be associated with. Usually, people won't challenge Henry's reputation and bid against me. But that time, Felix kept raising his card. In the end, he won it. A staff member passed on a message, saying Felix bought it to gift a girlfriend. Henry then laughed, saying his girlfriend was just as spoiled as me. I pretended to be scared, biting my lips in secret sorrow, but didn't realize Felix had been watching me all along. Just a little gesture, even Henry, who's usually so perceptive after spending so much time with me, didn't notice. But Felix did. I felt touched, but being reminded of the past, I couldn't help but go off topic. But you were so mean to me at first. If not for feeling him tighten his hold as I said I was leaving, understanding the unsaid request to stay, I would have really thought Felix hated me. Felix wiped my tears. I'm sorry. I was just awkward and angry. Angry that you chose so decisively back then, avoided me all this time. I thought you really liked him. I thought if you left, I'd just lock you up. I underestimated how serious things were. Until I found out he really gave you away to someone else. Felix suddenly slapped himself hard. I'm such an idiot. His hit was harsh, his right cheek swelling instantly, blood running from the corner of his mouth. I quickly stopped him. Are you crazy? I wanted to comfort him like I usually do, pretending to be relaxed. John got beaten up so bad. He's probably going to be stuck in the hospital longer than I ever was. But looking at those pain-filled eyes, I couldn't really find the right words. Back when Henry sent me to John, not many people knew about it. And after what he did to John, not many dared to discuss it, avoiding the risk of offending either family. As for why I chose to go with Henry at the time, well, it was mostly low self-esteem. Felix just got back home, and it wasn't worth it for him to get on Henry's bad side because of me. I didn't avoid him because I was scared of Henry, as I'd often say. All those hidden feelings of jealousy suddenly rushed over me. I couldn't help but ask, what about your girlfriend? Did you break up? How could you be fancying someone else just 1 month after? What gives you the right to complain about me avoiding you? I wouldn't have come looking for you if I hadn't heard you were kicked out and all alone. Felix's eyes were still red as he looked at me, hearing how fast my topic shifted. It was a mix of guilt and helplessness. You're gonna break up with me before you even get the gift? I caught on to his meaning, eyes wide. Frustrated with my slowness, Felix took a playful bite. Still gonna break up, girlfriend? Of course, breaking up wasn't an option. I just didn't expect Molly and Henry to break up within a month. On the other side of the video call, a girl was eating street food, her freckles standing out with a wild charm now that her fragility was gone. I met Molly because she approached me first. Her opening line was asking about the 3 elements of being a trophy wife. I found out then that she was there when I got dumped, and she had her eyes on a black card. I reminded her Henry was just using her as a shield, and that money could be risky. She shrugged it off. Fortune comes with risks. Life's gifts have their price, sis, I get it. Now she was just as carefree, munching away as she vented. Sis, you wouldn't believe this guy. He's such a coward, got drunk and called out your name. I'm not selling myself, just gave him a punch and left. When I heard Henry ended up in the hospital, I didn't care much, just told her to slow down and not choke. Molly hiccuped and kept complaining. Feels like he's looking to lose his wife at the crematorium. Always staring at your photos and creepily laughing. I act like a trophy wife by day, and like you by night, working 2 jobs for 1 pay, such a hassle. Molly rolled her eyes. If he's so deep in love, why find a double? Such selfishness. Only good thing is how generous he is with money. A few million as a breakup fee. I'd do it again. Felix peeked from behind my shoulder, his jealousy showing as he teased. Which wife are you talking about? Being quick to read the room, he corrected. Oh, slip of the tongue. Sis, is this the only brother-in-law I get? So handsome, much better than that jerk. Felix smirked, clearly pleased. I'll send you some pocket money from her phone later. Molly got all excited. Thanks, brother-in-law. You two were made for each other. May your marriage last 100 years, full of happiness, and I cut the video quickly, glaring at Felix. Childish. Felix looked smug. You like it when I'm childish? His touch got playful, and I feigned resistance. What are you doing? He looked up at me with a hint of mischief in his eyes, his whisper buried in my clothes, smiling as he continued where I'd cut off. Lots of babies. When I found out Felix only pretended to be kicked out, I went on a shopping spree, giving him the silent treatment. He knew he was in the wrong, trying to calm me down. I messed up, don't ignore me. He pouted, mumbling. If I hadn't pretended, would you have been near me again? While that might have been true, I still retorted sharply. Are you saying the hard bed I slept on and the broken shower head were fake? Felix hesitated, lips trembling with unsaid words. And I cut him off. I don't care. A day is still a day. I even got sick. Felix, you took care of me so badly. Though later he covered the bed with layers of blankets, made me hot water for a bath, and stayed up all night looking after me during my fever. But causing a fuss and bringing up old grievances is what I do best, right? He had no choice but to appease me. I'm sorry, please forgive me? He looked up at me, blinking innocently, his gaze softening the chill, more like a big puppy. That's when I noticed under his apron he was wearing nothing. My pupils constricted, blush spreading across my face as I looked away. I knew he was trying to seduce me with looks, but his body was undeniably attractive. Or rather, I was simply charmed by his efforts. Loving someone makes their little tricks feel adorable. Like now, I was all wrapped up in dizzy emotions. Mostly just happy that he'd go out of his way for me. Who cares if it's clumsy? Love's indulgence, I guess. Not to mention, Felix has got a knack for dating. He's quite the sweet partner. On Valentine's Day, he gave me a necklace he'd gotten earlier, putting it on me so gently. His voice tender. I hope, like this necklace, I can be a part of your life. Not a chain that binds you, but just a subtle adornment on your free spirit. Of course, this is your gift. Even if you tear it apart in front of me, it's still worth it. That necklace that used to look so flashy, before somehow gained charm through his words. Although its final use is too embarrassing to mention, even seeing it now makes me shiver. But Felix's sincerity still moved me deeply. I'm angry now only because he made me suffer all this time, worried about Henry retaliating. I planned on giving him a serious lesson, so he'd remember it. But now, I just softly bit his collarbone, pretending to be fierce. Just you wait. If you and Henry both end up losing, I won't feel sorry for you. But when it really happened, when Felix faced Henry, I still handed him a USB. It held info on bidding, cooperation secrets, and some unsavory tactics. Initially, I'd planned to face the aftermath alone, draw a line under the past. But now doing it together with someone I love feels alright. Henry was in a wheelchair the day he got taken down, staring right at me. You haven't lost weight. Reminding him of how I returned from John's, looking like a ghost. I was anorexic, with a death wish. 7. Barely surviving by injecting nutrient solution, until I caught a fleeting glimpse of remorse in Henry's eyes. Eventually, he even held John in front of me and made him kneel. I started eating properly. Even when I was nauseous and wanted to throw up, I forced it down, as if I really let bygones be bygones. I wanted to live, not out of pity for Henry, but because I saw the chance to get back at him. Sure enough, after I got better, Henry indulged me even more. He went from just feeding me with money to letting me ruin projects and make enemies for him. He even revealed confidential information to me. The person who once forbade me from confessing love began to test the waters repeatedly. When he saw my evasive eyes, he was so mad he punched until his hand was bloody. I'm not oblivious. Henry might really be in love with me. I also know he handed me over to Felix because he was sure Felix wouldn't hurt me. He wanted to protect me. He wanted to focus on cleaning up the mess. But his late affection couldn't make up for the damage done. I just found him pitiful. So when he asked me the night before he sent me away if I'd hate him, if we did it all over again, I pretended to be naive and lied, saying if he came to get me, I'd forgive him. All the mess that was made was just an appetizer. What I truly wanted was to deliver a fatal blow when he was done with everything, exhausted but hopeful, to make him feel the despair I once did. Just a second before being taken away, Henry started to struggle. The wheelchair tipped over, revealing his prosthetic legs. It said that unclean spies had retaliated and crushed his legs. Although his subordinates reacted in time, causing 2 cars to crash and saving his life, his legs were ruined. Henry, usually a clean freak, didn't care about appearances now and tried crawling toward me. Someone who was always so unbreakable looked at me and Felix cuddling, eyes reddening, with a touch of pleading. Do you know? I love you. I finally gave Henry a glance, showing the smile he once had me mimic. That was when I loved him the most, yet he said I looked more like his sweetheart. I've known for a while, but so what? I don't love you anymore. Henry, you told me once that one-sided love is ridiculous. It only makes people feel sick to their stomach, right? So can you stop saying these nauseating things? Henry instantly lost all his strength, his eyes dull, as others forcefully tied his hands behind his back. In prison, John was waiting for him. A broken hand and a broken leg, 2 disabled people, quite a match. When Felix took me to meet his parents, I hesitated. I'm used to judgmental looks, and have a hard time trusting people. Sure enough, when we got there, even though it was lunchtime, there were just a few plates of weird-smelling, blackish stuff on the table. I was about to suspect it was some intimidation tactic. Then I heard Felix helplessly call out, "Mom." Felix's mother had a well-preserved face with a big sooty spot on it. It made her fancy Cheongsam seem down to earth. The tension I was feeling eased a bit. I watched Felix's father fondly wipe her face. "Your mom heard you were bringing home your fiancé, and insisted on cooking herself. Luckily, she didn't blow up the kitchen." I nervously touched my nose, remembered the sweet long life noodles, and the messy kitchen I made for Felix's birthday. Suddenly, Felix's mother seemed a lot more kind and approachable. Felix and his father went to the kitchen to prepare lunch. Felix's mom pulled me to sit on the couch. Once the soot was wiped off, she reverted to her dignified look as the lady of the house. When we first got Felix back, we worried he might have picked up bad habits outside. Later we realized the only thing wrong was him being hung up on someone else's lover. At the time, I and his dad were relieved. "We could see you're a good kid, and you weren't happy with that person. Then we thought if Felix could make you happy, it'd be a good deed." She took off her bracelet and gave it to me, lovingly and playfully complaining, "I wanted to buy you a jade necklace, but that boy beat me to it." Seriously, no regard for his mom's face. I felt a bit flattered, wanted to refuse. Then she said gently but firmly, "Take it. You're the person who, even when stuck in the mud, pulled Felix up. You're a benefactor to our family. Both publicly and privately, you deserve it." When I accepted, she lightly tapped my nose, feigning anger. "The only issue is, you always suffer in silence, and don't want to trouble others. Even kittens meow. A meowing kitten gets love. In front of family, you can show your vulnerabilities." I knew she was talking about my past experiences. With a choked voice, I threw myself into her arms, genuinely calling out, "Mom, extra." The longer we were married, the more Felix's hopeless romantic side showed. He couldn't keep up the cool act around his wife, always thinking up ways to win Carrie's heart. Meanwhile, Carrie became more career-focused. Her past made her instinctively not put love first. Felix's overwhelming needs made her keep her distance. Think about it. During our month-long honeymoon, she only went out a handful of times. She realized every time she thought it was pure love, it was Felix enduring it until late to satisfy himself. Especially after discovering earning is more satisfying than spending, Carrie wished she could stay at work every day. It goes to show Felix's mother trained him well, just like her. If Felix dared to ask who Carrie's love was, her subconscious answer might leave him frustrated. After all, who can beat money? This led to New Year's Eve becoming Felix's complaint session. After getting married, Felix truly realized his mom became his mother-in-law. Even before, she disliked that Felix ended up almost exactly like his dad. Good at everything but work, sucks when it comes to his career. 8. But at the end of the day, it's just one kid. And no matter how much they dislike me, they gotta keep me around. Now that Carrie's their daughter-in-law, their attitude is even more out in the open. They don't even bother to fake it anymore. They keep telling me a man should be more tolerant, and always think about whether he's taking good care of his wife. Felix, feeling all sorts of betrayed. She told me way in advance that she'd be on a business trip on Valentine's Day. That's our anniversary. She doesn't love me anymore. Mom and Dad, aren't you gonna say something? But his dad's busy giving his mom a shoulder massage, and his mom's holding Carrie's hand, full of sympathy over how skinny she looks. Seems like not only did Felix not get any backup, but he also got a sharp look from his mom. Turns out she was a workaholic career woman back in the day too. Felix's dad was so worried she'd run off that he'd follow her on trips, dressed to the nines, and often got scolded for being too lovesick. Sadly, Felix's dad couldn't even empathize with his own son, and he's playing mind games in front of Felix's mom. He says Felix didn't inherit his strengths, and should just be a supportive husband for a successful woman. And Felix's mom? She adds fuel to the fire, saying even if she's not in love anymore, a woman's career is what matters most. A man who can't support from the sidelines is useless to have around. If things really fall apart, Carrie, you're like a daughter to me. Let that fool call you sis while he keeps working hard for you. Even though Mom's encouraging his wife to divorce, the truth is Carrie is just a younger version of Felix's mom. Felix is genuinely curious about what qualities attract such career-focused, strong women in a guy. So he tries to act the part at work, diligently pretending to be ambitious and devoted for a few days. It isn't until he's practically steeped in office life that he gets a subtle nod from his mom, who leaves him with these golden words. A man's virginity is his dowry. His career is his clothing. Felix blushes deeply. His mom is just starting to feel proud that he's finally grown some late-blooming sense of shame, only to hear him mutter, "Well, I'm in good shape, so not wearing clothes can actually be pretty enticing, right?" Infuriated, his mother resorts to disciplinary measures. No choice, Felix turns to his sympathetic dad for advice. This time, the advice is just 2 words. Felix luckily has both. So on Valentine's night, when Carrie returns to her hotel room, she finds Felix bound up snugly under the covers, tied in a way that only shows the essentials. Felix throws her a seductive wink. "Babe, here's your Valentine's Day present." Carrie promptly shuts her eyes and pulls the covers back over him, about to head back for some overtime work. The supposedly pitiable guy who'd been lying demurely on the bed suddenly leaps in front of her. He couldn't care less about his compromised state. He proudly displays himself, using every trick in the book to entice Carrie. His bound hands, holding Carrie's, casually twist the tie into a knot that keeps her from running away without hurting her. No longer playing the clueless puppy, Felix's greedy intent shines through. "Sweetheart, it's Valentine's. Where do you think you're going?" The end.